Allison gives you a legal statement to read.
We could read one if we are live.
Good evening and welcome to the July 15th, 2025 meeting of the Mendon Board of Water Commissioners. Pursuant to former Governor Baker's July 16, 2023 Act, relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, which suspended certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, Master Law, Chapter 38, Paragraph 20. The Mendon Water Commission will be using remote participation for this meeting. The audio and video of this meeting are being recorded and will be posted publicly as soon as possible to keep the public informed. At this time, a roll call attendance vote will be taken. Commissioner Vincent Roy.
Vincent Roy, Commissioner here.
Chairman Kevin Rudden here. We will begin with the
And Dan.
items on our agenda. Item 1, call to order and announce the recording. We've done that.
Yeah.
Item 2, consider and record approving the minutes of June 5th if they are not yet ready. Item 3, could you pass the bill over to?
Yep, this is the Hopedale bill.
Review and consider approving vouchers and billing commitments. We have our latest bill from Hopedale.
All things appear normal. So that's good news.
We have 2 out of 3 members signing, which means it's can be processed. Item 4, new business. Our wonderful day-to-day person, Dan Byer, is going to enlighten us on an update on issues that the senior center public well system is having.
So out of the blue, they failed for total coliforms.
Yes.
So they retested with a count that failed. They chlorinated the well, tested again. It still had coliforms. They chlorinated again, like aggressively, let it sit over a whole weekend.
Yeah.
Flushed everything. That test came back, which then triggered all the positive.
Okay.
Just no E. coli, just coliforms.
Again.
Again, for the 3rd time. So now DEP basically ordered us to do a whole investigation. They wanted them to camera the well. So they did that on Thursday, pulled the pump, cameraed the well, discovered that the pump is the original well pump from the 80s and it was failing when they tested it. So they recommended replacing the pump. They happened to have one on the truck. I mean, it was coming, so it was a legit company. I trust them. So that was $2,700, but better that than spending $7,000 when it fails and they got to come out and fix it in an emergency.
Right.
So they again chlorinated everything, let it sit over the weekend, came Monday morning, flushed everything again, took samples, tested, and I actually just found out this afternoon, these samples came back clean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Somebody with a failing pump doing something?
maybe, I don't know, so Cummings is gonna give a report from the camera inspection of the well. Prior, there was talk of maybe them requiring a treatment system. I know when Whitewater talked to me, when this first came up, they were thinking DEP wanted an emergency treatment system, like one of those, I guess you put like a chlorine pump.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's kind of up in the air. We'll have to see what DEP thinks of these results and what the inspection determined.
You're probably gonna want 2 additional samples would be my
Yeah.
guess.
And we're going to have to obviously put an article in the fall town meeting to pay for all this.
Yes, this for sure, and I had some chats with Jeremy. I just want to see if this is separate on the agenda because there's another item related to the budget. Okay, yeah, so.
You also have discussed certified operator contract for billing.
So the well, maybe we're out of the woods and
Sounds like we are. So when they open up
The
the well,
senior center had closed for 1 or 2 days during.
she had to close Monday because she had a cooking program, of course, of all things.
yeah.
The good news is they have always used bottled water for drinking and consumption over there. They just, that's what they do.
They use it in the kitchen, they use it to flush.
So it hasn't been majorly impactful, but it.
Were you there when they, with RH did the work?
I was there later when they did the inspection. I was there for a little bit.
It's one of the things you wanna look for, sanitary seal for the well to make sure, because if an animal is putting it down in there.
Well, yeah, I think that's what they were looking to investigate. It does have one of those vented caps because they required us to do that a few times ago on the inspections.
So it's
It has those sealed caps, I don't know, you know.
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna
called
get-
pillars, yeah, pillars adapted,
Um,
sure, nothing can get it, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, I mean, here, I think I sent you the results, I don't know, it wasn't like astronomical.
No, you were sending us the results, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, as long as it comes back, absolutely cold. You said there was no E. coli.
The first round came back, counts 140,
There's never
200,
any E. coli, it was always coliform.
Yeah,
and then it kept slowly dropping, but, so if we're lucky, because the problem with treatment is it's gonna jack up our operator costs, because it's gonna need weekly monitoring, as Ken said, plus the system will probably be 10, 20 grand to have it engineered, installed, and we spent over 50 in this building, and that wasn't chlorination, that was just the manganese and whatever, I mean, the well too, so. The one thing I did, and I mentioned this to Jeremy, one of the limitations of expanding the senior center was that well. If we now have to invest a ton of money into it, maybe it is time to think about, maybe it becomes more cost effective to start over and drill a new well.
yeah, I tell you want to avoid having to chlorinate the water.
That's a big
because,
It
there were
becomes permanent.
yeah, it becomes permanent, but then there were other disinfectant byproducts you're gonna be worried about.
Yeah.
Right, I would deal with that.
Yeah, salicylic acids, yeah, some things that, other things that you need to.
Well, we'll just have to see how it plays out, but,
Yeah, so I mean, it was looked better today, so hopefully maybe they'll be able to determine the well pump. I mean, I know years ago at the park, we had an issue where water was stagnating in the lines because of plumbing. It was like going back and forth instead of coming out and flowing.
Right.
And we kept having coliform, so maybe the pump wasn't fully pumping. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen that issue on dead end roads, that's why, a lot of times have a flushing program, just because it's not enough movement in the water supply.
yeah, that's why you usually want to loop.
Yeah.
If you don't have a loop, I mean, that's what happened in Milford a couple of years ago with Little Brown Water. They had about 50, 60 dead ends.
Yeah.
And flushing didn't keep it moving enough.
Yeah, that's the thing, water just kind of.
What happened to us, the last water main break, we had coliform that we finally able to flush out.
The one on that.
The residuals are higher from Hopedale, so that's good, but
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, because I remember that there was almost no residual at all, yeah.
So anyway.
You also had certified operator contract.
So, yeah.
You don't have to bid again?
So the deal with the contract, and I had mentioned, so Whitewater wants to change the way they're billing us. What they'd like to do is take the total cost of all the lab fees, divide it by 12, and have us pay monthly, which would be great. However, it occurred to me, their bill renews in like May. It would have us prepaying for services we haven't received, prepaying for stuff in the fiscal year. Then on top of it, what they sent me, it was like almost $8,000 annually, and our lab costs based on what they've been billing us are $6,000. So I questioned that, and she says, well, everything's going up and we're having to charge for things that we weren't charging for. And so what I think the conclusion is if that's how they want to bill, we need to start over, go out to bid, and they can bid and say, our bid is this per month fee, it includes all the lab work.
By law, though, we're not supposed to prepay for anything.
Right, but then we're just paying for a monthly.
We also are not supposed to have a contract overlapping fiscal years unless the contract or RFP says, subject to funding each fiscal year.
Yeah.
Correct, yes.
And I think, it's been a while, and I know, our operator's really good. Every time we've had work, we've been using Braza because it's easier and more cost effective than having Whitewater because they want to sub everything out.
Right.
I think it would be worthy in the fall to write up a scope of work, go out to bid and just see who's out there.
I think it's a good idea.
Whitewater's getting very expensive.
Well, it's a good idea to do routine every couple of years anyway. But, we also have to,
It's gonna keep them honest.
keep them honest, but we can specify in that how we want to be built.
Right, and I think.
And, you can specify the fiscal years in it. We just opened bid yesterday in assessors, where it specified 3 fiscal years.
Subject to the approval of.
It said, subject to annual funding.
Yeah.
For each fiscal year.
Yeah.
And, the contractor's been doing along, has no problem with that, he's just been dealing with, municipal government. So I agree with you. So you want us to like figure September, October?
Yeah, in the fall, and the other thing too, again, I would like to look into getting certified, but in the short term, we need an operator, so that's.
Yeah, I think at least 6 months, because you want to go to school and take a
Right.
test.
But I think in the short term,
You'll be able to pass it, but you gotta take a class.
Yeah.
Too. I don't think it comes without.
we'll see who's out
Yeah.
there.
Well, why don't we say, we'll say sometime in the fall,
Yeah,
because I know you're tied up through Labor Day.
yeah, once the park closes, we'll have more time to focus on.
And then maybe we can circulate it around, you and I can, you know,
Yeah,
throw our 2 cents in.
so, yeah, for right now for Whitewater, we're just paying the same monthly fee and they're gonna bill us per service. Cause the other problem too is like, it would take forever to get the bills after the lab tests.
Yeah.
And it would be very confusing, so it would be nice to just have everything included, figure it out and bill us for it.
I agree.
Well, the question I have.
And, we'll pay for extra tests, but all the stuff that's on the schedule,
Yeah.
let's just be
Okay,
done.
but you mentioned prepay. I mean, I would rather prefer to get, if I got a bill on July 1, it should be the bill for June, not the bill for July.
Oh, yeah, well, that was the issue with Whitewater is the way this was gonna work. Cause we have a schedule from DEP, so you know all the testing, and then if there's extra testing, you pay extra for that, that's fine. But all the stuff that's been ordered, it's scheduled, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, the other thing too, Dan, I wanted to ask, are we using, the town standard contract? Or would I use
Town-
the contract?
So when, the town doesn't really have a standard contract.
Yes.
It is something
We
that
have one in Holliston.
Jeremy's working towards, and I did mention this to him, and he will help us when we go out to bid on this.
I will tell you the problem that I have is we have a standard contract in Holliston. Okay, most vendors have their own standard contract, and we lose 2 or 3 months with the lawyers arguing it out.
I know,
And, you know, we put our contract in the RFPs or the RFQs. And the first thing our law firm says is, well, why didn't they give us our contract? I go, well, they have a standard contract, just like we do. So the latest bid that just went out, the company agreed to say, we'll start to work while the lawyers argue the contract, because we know you can't wait 3 months. But it took 3 months for the contract before.
so, yeah, so it's been my practice, we have a standard agreement too.
Yes,
I tell all vendors, all contractors that I deal with, they accept that contract, we'll negotiate, whether, for the insurance, the indemnity clause and all that stuff. We can modify some of that if need be, but otherwise we use our own standard contract.
I'll mention it to him, because I know for building, so like the lighting project,
Yeah,
we have a contract that we've been using, and it's the same, like the field lighting, but
standard,
that's construction.
yeah, but I'll be happy to give you all
Yeah.
this
yeah, I was gonna say, I could do the same thing.
to modify it.
Well, yeah, that's a
I mean,
giant project.
ours has been done by
Here's
you.
here's the thing with a vendor's contract, they all favor the vendor or the contractor. And there's not a lot of protections there for the town.
Yeah, well, with Whitewater too, it was an emergency, we needed somebody because the previous person,
Totally get it.
but now I think it's time
I just had
to
a company,
play the
because
field.
we contract, maintenance of our Ritchie generators. FM generator, I don't remember.
Yeah,
And so I contract this out, actually in July, so they sent me this, thing, rejected it right away. I'm like, no, I am not signing a contract.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a sign our contract and review the contract before you sign it, but yeah, I go through this all the time.
well, the biggest issue we had was they gave us a menu.
Yeah.
The last contract we signed.
Yeah.
And so our town council looked at it, added up all of the items on the menu.
Yeah.
And said not to exceed that. And then our accountant said, well, I can't sign that, that exceeds the amount you have appropriated. So we had to go back and go, not to exceed the amount appropriated, may pick from the menu. I actually came up with the words, may pick from the menu with the total not to exceed
Right,
this amount.
Yeah,
And everybody got happy, but that held it up for a month. Anyway,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so
so
that's-
you also put in the testing budget.
And then the last thing, yeah, so
Obviously, we're gonna be over.
well, we blew the FY 25 budget
Might
and
have
had to do multiple transfers, and then the senior center thing on top of it. I don't know, for years, we've been fine. For some reason this
But
year,
this is coming out of the town.
the town, general fund, so like
Yeah.
this building, some of our sampling got doubled up, so there were a few quarters, we had to do two PFAS.
Whatever the issue, yeah.
So every 3 years, we have to do that VOC, which is like a $900 test. This was the year we had to freaking
Okay,
two of them.
But quite honestly, here's the thing, if we have to go into the fall town meeting, it's real simple. The DEP ordered these tests, you know,
Regulatory compliance.
regulatory
I just-
compliance.
Want to give you.
You know, this is the average we've used over the last 5 years, that's what we put in the budget, because it's not fair, what I always tell people, finance committees, it's not fair to say, well, last year we had a blip and it was 15 grand, so we went 15 grand for next year, when it could very well drop to the 5 and it dropped.
Well, I think my recommendation is that we have to make up the difference, but I think this testing line, we need to add like 2,000 to it, there needs to be a buffer.
Then,
Hopefully we don't need it, but for
well,
some reason,
let's
we
put an
keep running
article
into
on,
problems and it's expensive.
let's put an article when you open, like,
Yeah,
we
just,
opened our fall town meeting warrant last night in Holliston.
Mm.
So, you know, I have a board meeting on Tuesday where I said, I'm suggesting we put in a bump.
So you're talking about the fall?
but in the fall, we'll submit I think we need to submit an article to
When does the warrant open?
potentially a request for whatever happens in the senior center. Honestly,
No,
probably the end of August, mid-August.
what I would do is then suggest 2 articles.
But,
One is a transfer to cover the unexpected senior center well emergency,
yeah,
and then another transfer to increase the testing budget, and just leave the amounts blank for now till we decide what
Yeah.
to do. But, I mean, the template articles are out there.
no, I think,
And if you know, if not, I'll write them up for you overnight. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not that hard to write.
So you're gonna get a cost estimate from RH for whatever we.
well, wait a minute, so right now, so we have the 2,700 for the well pump.
Yeah,
Most of the 3,500 was for the camera inspection, but that was cheaper than she thought it was gonna be.
So it's probably 10 to 12 grand.
And then whatever we had ordered to do, if we're lucky and we don't have to do anything but paperwork, it's not a lot. If we have to do a treatment system, who the hell
yeah, what
knows?
do we test it once a month there, right?
Right. But it's.
We're testing, yeah, we're saying like every 3 weeks or something.
I mean, it can't fail. It's real simple.
Maybe it's monthly. I don't know.
Okay, we either pay for that or we close the senior center. It's that simple.
Yeah. Because then that's it. I mean, we're not asking for $100,000. It's short money, but
Yeah.
it's just,
Well, it's unexpected, so I would alert people it's coming.
we've been very down to the penny in with these budgets, and this is this is a high year because of that VOC and SOC testing that's expensive, but I think we need to have a bigger buffer on this budget from now on.
I agree.
Right, and I also think.
These buildings are aging and.
I also think we should give the FinCom a heads up. And maybe the Board of Selectmen that we will have a warrant article coming to cover the as yet to be determined unexpected cost of the well failure.
Yeah, I did let Jeremy knows, and I met with him in person and gave him a heads up as well.
Yeah, but
He can update them.
well, I think we ought to update him too.
And then as soon as we get the notice of the opening, we can submit stuff. But anyway, I think more just to give you a heads up that.
Nope, that's that. I wanna pass on discussion on the water study right now. Updates on Whitten Road and 23 Cape project.
Nothing new. I did send them an email about the amendment and just said, hey,
The town council.
no, the developer. And said, hey, we wanna close this out. And I also spoke with John Erickson. We did place a hold, so they will not get an occupancy permit until this is done,
I will tell you,
but
I looked at the exterior this weekend. And I know the assessor's inspector looked at it. Just looking at the outside of the building, I'd say they're about 90% done.
yeah, they're close.
They're close, the traffic signal improvement's working. I noticed they moved the light over the weekend.
Yeah, they moved the light.
So we're just waiting for the infamous National Grid to move the poles.
Wait, not a year and a half.
Yeah, there's a text thread,
And then,
something about a sign, that's the last they said.
okay, anything new on the Plains Road Talbot Farm issue?
So not really, I spoke with Jeremy, whatever's happening on Plains Road is dead, is going nowhere. We're not getting anything out of them, they're not responding, so I would say That's a done deal, and I think we should just get pricing to replace the meter in the Cape Road meter pit and move on with our lives.
Then let's do that.
If it's
You
important, I
agree?
hope that he can negotiate, but
I mean, if it's important enough for them to move it, then let them contribute to helping move it.
you know,
I mean, I don't like where it is, but that's
we
where
got the
it's been
stupid thing in the
forever.
basement, we might as well put it in the ground and it would make.
Yeah,
happy.
there's a shelf life to
It's a
the
battery.
the battery, yeah.
We can replace the battery.
But, I'll also say candidly, it's, I've lived in this area for close to 45 years. That meter pit's been there for those 45 years and earlier.
I mean, the project will suck, but when it's done,
Make sure we get the meter this time.
yeah, we better.
We don't like the location, but you know what? Let's just go ahead and do it. Okay, the 8
And I
days.
put that on there, I have not had time to call Paul.
Paul, I talked to Paul, wait a minute, I just want to note the date.
I will give him a call.
No, I want to note the date for you. I talked to Paul on June 21st in person and said that we needed a quote to replace a curb stop. He asked where. I told him the name of the street. I reminded him it's right around the corner from his building. And I said it was at the edge of a driveway and looked fairly simple for the description. I could please call you. So that was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago already. I will text him again tonight.
I'll call him, everything's been swamped at the park and I haven't had a chance. And I made a connection with somebody who lives in town that owns a commercial site management company, because they ended up helping soccer with some issues with the irrigation system. But I guess they do like water tie-ins and stuff. So unfortunately, I think he's gonna be too expensive, but I was gonna reach out to him and ask him to give us some quotes, because they have a vac truck, and they have that, he can do that kind of work. But based on the pricing I saw for the irrigation work, I think it's not cost effective, but
Look,
maybe he wants to, get.
get a quote, because we needed 3 quotes.
Something like that, site.
Well, get a quote from him, because did you have his price schedule?
Yeah.
No, then I'll have to send
Need
it
to
to
quote, so yeah, get the quote.
So we have the hydro whatever's quote.
I can ask them to re-up it. The only thing I know, I haven't asked them specifically. I know the one time I talked to Hydrotech, they had basically said it's about 5,000 a day for the back truck.
Okay, so
But that was when we had that insurance.
okay, but you got that price quote. You get a price quote from this guy,
Sure, it's the same.
and you get a price quote from Brazos Construction. I mean, I'm gonna favor Brazos just because they're local and they respond and they're
Yeah,
inexpensive.
which whoever's cheaper. The other one too, I should call is Andy Fisk, I think does this work.
Okay,
But I think,
this is a small job though. I mean,
yeah,
this is, what do we say, a 2-3 hour job, if that?
I mean, there's several of them,
Yeah.
and that would be the advantage of
We're gonna
doing,
dig right at the curb stop, dig down.
yeah,
We think the curb stop broke right at the nut or something.
it just spins. The rod just
It just-
spins,
yeah,
so most likely the
Is that a
car.
hard pin in?
Rusted out.
Yeah.
But in reality, with the way I look at it, is you throw down 2 4x8 sheets of plywood next to the driveway, you back them in the excavator next to it, you dig the thing, you replace it. You fill it in, you pick up the plywood, you're out of there, 3 hours.
Max, I'm gonna say, yeah, probably do it in like an hour.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying,
You're right.
the other thing is, most people won't wanna bid on a job that small.
Yeah, well, the only other
Or
thing
Brazil will.
is there are probably 7 or 8 of them, so if you had enough to knock a bunch out in a day, but.
Yeah, because somebody's got a little machine, actually, I got a.
Well, I've been talking to John, and I think John eventually wants to buy a mini excavator.
Yeah,
So do I.
This is stuff that highway can do.
So
You
do
know,
I.
pick a slow day, it's not critical, take your time. And I think they're working that direction eventually, but.
Yeah.
Well,
it's short term.
until they do.
Yeah,
I just look at it, we need 3 quotes, if you can't get a hold of Paul, will you just text me?
yeah, no, I just haven't had time to,
I mean, I'm driving to his house.
It does have a brand new valve inside though, right?
they have a shop.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's just not critical.
But we also told
Ready to
them
get it.
last month that we'll try to fix it.
We told them.
Yeah.
Because there's that one, there's one on Edward, there's, there was a couple others.
I'm just saying that.
And there's a few there's small stuff we gotta do that
Yeah.
gotta finish up on, the things that
Okay.
are crazy, so that's,
There's nothing else on the agenda?
just,
What do
you skipped it, but there is, I put it as a placeholder, there really is no news in the water study, it's just,
Yeah, okay, but is there anything else you need to bring up there?
nope,
I have nothing.
Anything? Motion to adjourn?
wait, meeting date,
Oh,
I,
do we want, are you tied up in, the first week of August?
We go the 7th, we put the 7th works. for me.
August 7th? August
So-
7th,
what's that day falling?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday, back to
I
our,
think that still works.
it's our first Thursday of the month.
Yeah, I was say Tuesdays are usually bad for me, but tonight was good.
So
You got me out of work early.
Yeah.
So, August 7th at 7?
Yeah. And then
Okay,
motion.
Yeah, so
can
it's good to
you just
me.
make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, on the open session.
Step down as chair, need a roll call vote. Mr. Roy?
Roy, aye.
Rudden, aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you for